Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Astrological's Racing. Today, we're going to be reviewing and looking into some shifters. More specifically, a sim racing company, family owned, still pretty small, BDH Sim Racing Hardware. Let's talk about them. So, as a lot of you guys know, I started sim racing roughly 3-4 years ago, I think closer to 4 years ago. And a big reason why I got into it was because I wanted to replicate this one-to-one experience. And creating that one-to-one experience was something that was always in the forefront of my mind. And if I couldn't create that one-to-one experience, I was going to find out a way on how to do that strategically. And a lot of that inspiration came from Race Beyond Matter, Boosted Media's setup. There's a few others, Alex K Racing. I think a lot of us complemented each other, but just took little bits and pieces of like, how can we make this experience even more realistic? And I think that this company, BDH Sim Racing Hardware, truly brings a one-to-one experience when it comes to actual race components, aerospace components, to the actual rig itself. And I think that's pretty unique because there's a lot of companies, SimJack, that make pretty cool shifters. I even have their sequential as well, which is, it's kind of cool for a period of time until you get into GT2, GT3 cars and realize, hey man, these things don't have dog boxes. For the longest period of time, I was so limited to the cars that I wanted to keep racing, but I stopped using the shifters because they just weren't supported. And people would make fun of me, hey man, why are you using an H-pad and shifter and a GT3 RS? I was like, well, believe it or not, I think that they actually make one. I'm pretty sure they make GT3s with manual cars, like the new Porsches. But enough about that. Let's talk about this company, BDH Sim Racing Hardware. So this company is family owned. They're based, I believe, overseas, and they have a passion, a very unique passion for sim racing specifically. Dave is the owner, and basically what Dave he has done during the COVID lockdown, he was challenged by a buddy. He said, you know what, I want you to create the most accurate depiction of an actual race car shifter, and I want to plug it into my rig, and I want to make this thing feel as realistic as possible. Dave was up for the challenge, and through rigorous testing through this whole COVID, I think it was about 2020, I think that was the pandemic, right? He decided, you know what, let's give this thing a shot. So he went through a series of tests, and if you scroll down a little bit on the About Us section here, go to the very bottom, you can see a documentary style video of Dave explaining all of the previous builds of like what it is today, basically, right? So rigorous testing on implications on how this whole thing was assembled by hand. Him and his wife had been doing this for a very long period of time, but he was successful, obviously, in his designs because it's gaining traction. Podium One Racing caught traction of it. Now they are a very large distributor of BDH Sim Racing Hardware. And even Joe Rogan has one on his rig, which is actually really sweet. And if you guys haven't seen that video yet of Joe Rogan and Podium One actually assembling this thing, you're missing out. This thing is absolutely insane. And it's really unique to see what Podium One is also implementing as well. And I do want to rewind just quite a bit. And I should have said this in the very beginning, but full disclosure, once again, just like all of my reviews, there's no outside third-party influence depicting this at all. If you do decide to use an affiliate link, which is 5% off at Podium One Racing, you can absolutely do that. Support the channel, support the cause, support everything that I have going on here with Astrological's Racing, so I continue to grow the channel and provide amazing content for you guys to follow along with to help your purchasing a little bit easier from personal experience. So Dave, like I said, he's been doing this for quite a while. Dave actually started again during the COVID-19 lockdown. He used his skills and experience in motorsports. Dave set out to create a shifter to replicate the feel of a short throw, close ratio dog box from a Ford Escort rally car. So that was the bar. That was the standard that he wanted to replicate, was that Ford Escort rally car. And this is all stemmed from passion. I said this about a few companies that I've talked about. But without passion, there's no substance. right? And I think I've said this even about myself as well, and I've shared this with you guys. Without any actual passion for what you want to do long term, you can get burned out pretty quickly. It's been there, done that, have the t-shirt, had it all. I've done that before, and it gets mundane, it gets boring. You have to have a deep love and a passion for what you do, wake up each day and love this stuff. And Dave replicates that within his business model perfectly, because he actually does have a burning passion for racing. He's an enthusiast and obviously makes incredible one-to-one ratio type gear as well. So it was successful during the COVID-19 lockdown. And again, this all stems from passion. The team of dedicated race enthusiasts understand the thrill of a perfect lap and the satisfaction of that tactile feel between the shifters and everything like that. It's truly it's that extra layer of you're moving with the whole experience. It's a stick shift car compared to an automatic car. As you know, it's more fun. You have more control over the actual car itself. It's a better experience if you know how to drive stick. And if you don't know how to drive stick, this will teach you pretty quickly. In fact, just not to get off subject too much, I knew how to drive stick before. I've driven stick shift before, but until I started playing a little bit more with like Assetto Corsa and a few of the other classic cars as well, like the Porsche RUF Rough, it really sharpened over the course of time, and I thought that was actually pretty unique. I felt pretty comfortable. I would detail some cars and they were stick shift. What am I going to do? Oh yeah, I play Assetto Corsa, I can do this. It was exactly the same thing, and it was a one-to-one experience that I was actually able to help myself in my detailing business to actually drive some of these stick shift cars that really wasn't too agile on before. But I can articulate this car a lot easier than I could before, engaging the clutch, all that stuff. So it is a tool. And speaking of tool, and we'll get a little bit more onto Dave and his history a little bit more, but what Dave is trying to create is a tool for racers to create this true one-to-one experience. Simulation, and this is my opinion, I believe a simulation should be as accurate as possible for a one-to-one experience that you're actually trying to replicate in real life. There's a lot of sims out there, there's a lot of guys out there that just do this for fun, and I still do this for fun, but I feel like I can definitely see the benefit of utilizing this as an actual tool as opposed to, hey, look at me, I'm racing on a track, this is kind of cool, what do you think of this? You know, just creating this one-to-one experience is what it's all about, I believe. That's my purpose here. Obviously, they have a huge commitment to quality, and we're going to go over the build quality as well. And then here at the bottom of the page here, you also see the, not so much like the marketing material, we're going to go over more of like what makes this shifter stand out from anything you've ever seen before. And I could confidently say I've never seen something like this. I've seen a couple of things that are similar. I think I've seen it like a SimX. There's a few out there that are kind of cool looking, but nothing to this build quality. And we're going to talk about the essential specification. So the dimensions is 300 millimeter by 200 millimeter by 150 millimeter. The mass is 4 kilograms, which translates to about 6 or 7 pounds, roughly, right? Imperial metrics. H pattern shifter. It's a dual mode, so that little thing on the back there, you can literally turn that dial within a matter of 0.4 seconds. I'm in sequential. I'm right back in dog box H pattern. Really awesome stuff. USB powered. There's no 5-volt DC. There's no external power supply or anything like that. At least mine anyway, maybe I have a newer model or whatever it is. I literally just plug the USB straight into the PC. Seamlessly works with every single title that I've tried. I tried Assetto Corsa Evo. I tried Assetto Corsa. Haven't tried Assetto Corsa Competizione just because it's all GT cars anyway. There's no point yet. At least I don't think that there's a point inside that one. I don't think there's any sequential cars in there in Competizione anyway. Tried it in Automobilista 2. Now that one, we're going to get on the rig here shortly. We're going to talk a little bit more drive time, stuff like that, sequential, H pattern, all that. We're going to cover it all in real time as well. It's going to be sick. This is something that was very unique about this shifter. This is all precision machined HE260 aerospace specification aluminum material. The whole chassis is made out of this aerospace aluminum, which is very unique. Who would have thought, right? High tensile steel components rated for extreme durability. We have WRC spec nylon coiffe style gear knob with precision grip texture. We have self-lubricating bronze bushings for smooth operation. And then we have high-quality die square section springs for consistent resistance. We're going to move down into the dual mode mechanism, see how this whole engineering mastermind did this. So there's an independent H patterns and sequential mechanism all into one unit. This is all precision engineered mode selector collar with positive engagement. We have 8 gear gates and H pattern mode with configurable layouts. We have, and just to touch on that, I thought this was a 6-speed H pattern gearbox. Come to find out, and I've learned this actually in real time as well. This is actually 8. It's an 8 H pattern shifter, which is pretty unique. Who would have thought? That's so awesome. We have a high precision sequential mechanism defined for actuation points. So when you're actually pushing this forward and you're shifting down, each of these articulation points aren't just on a spring, right? This is on a rotating gear that every time you push it forward, there's a slot that it drops down into as it's articulating and spinning. Same thing when you shift upwards, rolls backwards and it drops into the gate and it articulates in that manner as well. Centralizing cam mechanism for precise gear selection. Now we're going to go over to the electronics and connectivity. BDH proprietary contactless Hall sensor technology, which means they have, and I saw this in a few videos, I don't know if the guys have taken it out, but it is literally, the motherboard is shaped like this U. Then it's all contactless, it's a Hall sensor technology. You have a zero input lag connection directly to the PC, which is via USB. But we have a plug and play functionality, like I was saying, on all major sim titles. Amazing, right? And then we have no external power supply needed. I don't think that any of his models had that. I did see the essential specifications at the top. It looked like there was some sort of 5 volt, maybe that was a previous model. We have a built-in processor with custom BDH firmware. Now, I just went directly into the actual sim and it recognized it, and I didn't do anything with the built-in processor with the custom BDH firmware. I didn't do anything to set it up in that regard. Just know you can plug and play and just go straight into whatever you want to play, right? Protected circuit design for long-term reliability. Mounting and customization. So this is one of the things that I really liked about this shifter, is that you can mount this virtually however the heck you want to do it. So you have the capability, so this is all mountable on directly onto the actual profile itself. So at first I wasn't able to do it the way I wanted to do it. I was just going to side mount it because I have the double slots vertically, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to mount it on top of my rig, so I had to add an additional aluminum extrusion, get a couple of brackets up underneath there, and then I was able to double slot on top on a flat plane and then attach it in that manner. So that made things a little bit difficult at first. If you don't have it, it will. And the biggest thing is, this is an ASR3 rig. It's mid-tier. It's not top of the line. It's not like an ASR5, ASR6, or quadruple stacked. It is motion ready. We will see if it will handle motion in the future. We're going to find out. We're going to find out here shortly if it can handle motion. But if it does, ASR3, you guys build a solid rig. One thing I would note with the shifter column, I'm probably going to add an additional actual piece of extrusion to really reinforce everything, because when I am shifting, I am noticing a little bit of a flex, which is not the end of the world. But I think I need to add a little bit more reinforcement. But for review purposes, we're going to go ahead and we're going to run with it. So once we hop on the rig, you might be able to see a little bit of flex here and there. Just know that it's because I haven't added that extra rigidity for a support arm yet, which will happen. And then we're going to go over to the precision engineering details. So this is very technical stuff. And if I'm going to be frank with you, I don't know exactly how all of this articulates, but I do know, once I read this to you, this is all to create a true one-to-one experience to an actual professional race car driver, because this whole idea, this whole philosophy behind what Dave is doing, he's trying to replicate a very useful tool for not only the racer, but for the experience, or maybe that somebody wants to get into racing as well, so that that translation between the two, whether you're driving the car or the simulation, There's no loss of translation. It's almost a true one-to-one experience. And I think that's what he's truly trying to articulate, or he's really trying to replicate here with myself. I think this all started off pretty innocent. I wanted to create some fun content, but now I'm seeing the actual benefit of, wow, this can actually be utilized as a very useful tool. And I want to eventually here, and I think it's going to happen this year, get behind the wheel of a car, GT, whether I have to go rent one, experiences with Podium. I want to start seeing how this can translate onto the track itself. I see these videos all the time. You guys have seen them where a YouTuber will go, or not a YouTuber, but the sim racer from iRacing, he's top, his iRating's way up, and they want to see how this articulates onto the track, how it translates, right? And 9 times out of 10, after a couple of laps, they're like, this is actually pretty impressive. So you can only imagine, that's a one day on a track. Imagine if he did a few weeks or a short camp. I mean, look at Suelo, for example. Sim racer, young guy, decided, you know what, I'm going to do sim racing. So, and he won a bunch of events. And then just recently, a couple weeks, he just raced at the Daytona Rolex 24, GT4 cars. That's all this. It's just absolutely mind-blowing how this can be translated into a real-life scenario. And I didn't mean to get off topic here, but I just find it incredible. And it goes back to really trying to replicate a one-to-one experience. That's what it's all about. That's what I'm passionate about sim racing as well, to really bring this to the most realistic feeling ever. So let's go ahead and hop onto the rig. We're going to test this out in real time. I think that's pretty much going to wrap up all of the specifications. Once we hop in the rig, we test everything out. You guys can see some visuals. I hook up a mic next to it so you can actually hear the actual noises of the shifter being articulated. We'll close out and we'll go from there. All right, here we go. We have the audio rolling. Let's just see how this goes. We'll be testing out the BDH shifter today. Make sure we are in the correct gear here. Each pattern. This is a 5-speed car. I was playing around with it last night, and I was having a little bit too much fun, if we're being honest. So here we go. Oh man, it is surreal, man. It feels really good. And just the feeling of getting back into, driving shift. Now granted, I did warm up a little bit last night, that's why. Now this is a cold start for me today, but I did warm up just a little bit last night. Oh my gosh. It's so awesome to get back into a stick shift setting again. There's just something about it, man. Oops. There's fifth over there. Missed a gear. That's authentic. That's real. Oh, we got a turn. Oh, got a guy coming up to my right here. But I really wanted to showcase what this thing actually sounded like, obviously, because let me fix this microphone. There we go. Oh, it has this very aggressive, but not overly aggressive. Again, this is all adjustable, tactile, punchy, authentic feel to it. I jumped in from fourth to second there. This car is actually super fun to drive as well. If you guys haven't noticed, it does bring quite a bit of joy to me. Now I do want to try like an RUF Porsche as well. But oh my gosh, dude. This is insane. And it's not just the car, it's really just the entire experience with a shifter now as well, because you literally have full control over the actual car. Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. This car, I'm not gonna say it. It is very, very squirrely. That's all I'm gonna leave it at that. And that was user error. I will blame myself for that one. I'm surprised I haven't had a major wreck yet. I mean, I was playing last night, and I'll be honest, I was doing pretty bad. There's our 5th gear. I do have the AI, and I am playing with AI, set to, I want to say they're 120. It's literally 100, as maxed out as you can get. So it goes past 100%, and then you get up to 120, and it's feels a bit more authentic, I guess you could say, even though oh, and I don't know if you guys know this, but there is a new feature with Automobilista 2 now. I don't know if this is new, but it's something that I just noticed. You have the ability to have the AI make more mistakes, so they're not so like robotic. And that was one thing I brought up to Assetto Corsa Evo, was the authenticity of the, he's cutting in tight, of the artificial intelligence, because it felt like, oh god, they were making mistakes, and them making mistakes felt, at first I'm like, yeah, this sucks, this is not cool at all, and then I realized, you know what, I think we need the AI to screw up a couple of times so it's not so robotic, have them run off the track, have them hit some track limits, get some penalties, you know what I mean? Holy cow, this is, I probably have the force feedback turned up a bit too high. Oh, I did the same thing there, bud. We're locking up a little bit. I think the tires are still pretty cold up here. Really amazing visuals. As you guys know, this is one of, I would say, probably the most optimized sims out there for visuals, especially when it comes to VR. And when you know a sim has extremely great visuals and packs a punch with VR with extremely good performance, you know they optimized it well. And Automobilista 2 has done this time and time again. Now the physics, they are getting better, I will say that, but they're not fully there yet for my 100% liking, to be honest. Still super fun to drive a stick shift though. It's one of the very few sims that I can actually enjoy driving stick shift. Alright, let's try to get up a little bit further here, and we're gonna crash. But anyways, yeah, in regards to the actual shifter, we're gonna talk about my final thoughts anyway.